Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Mark and I thank you so much for coming by today. Have you ever wondered what makes people creative while other people are not? What is that driving force that puts us in front of a sketchbook, a computer screen, an instrument, or in a dance studio? I know that for me, I've been a creative person since I was just a little kid, creating elaborate scenarios for my superhero action figures and drawing constantly on whatever I could find to draw on. But it's always eluded me as to why I was always creating, especially when my parents and my siblings did not. In my experiences, the word art is a lot like the word love. And love, as we know, is one of the great mysteries in life. It's a long debated subject that scientists, philosophers, and artists have been arguing trying to understand its origins. The question is love an intangible, extranatural emotional reaction that comes from a higher, inexplicable power, or is there an actual scientific explanation behind the strong feelings we experience in certain situations? Well, it's been proven that love can be measured by the chemical changes in the brain, reactions of different chemicals blending together to create an eruption of sensations the body responds to. For example, when testosterone and estrogen levels are heightened, we become attracted. When pheromones, dopamine, and adrenaline levels rise, we become lustful. And when hormones like vasopressin and oxytocin, also known as the cuddle hormone, kick in, then we experience attachment, kind of like when a mother bonds with her newborn child. Now, just to clarify, I am no expert in all this, but this is a subject that's been interesting me for many years, and I just thought it would make an interesting topic for discussion today. In my research, I've come to understand how these chemical reactions drive us to act in certain ways towards certain people and in certain situations. Of course, there's another position that's worth discussing: the concept that human beings were designed to have these chemical reactions. Whether by nature, by God, or whatever the creative power there may be in the universe, for the sake of human procreation to keep the species alive. This extra or supernatural intervention of the human species is sometimes referred to as the divine plan, mainly because love is often viewed as a spiritual experience. For generations, it's been the subject of debate and continues to be so even now. But what does all this have to do with art? Well, let's talk about this in more detail right after this coffee break. Back in 1986, a man named Robert Sternberg, a professor of psychology at Yale University, proposed his triangular theory of love. Sternberg's primary interests were in the fields of wisdom, intelligence, and creativity. Wisdom refers to the instinctive knowledge we gain from personal experiences throughout our lives. Intelligence refers to the learned knowledge we gain from educational studies. And creativity refers to the culmination of instinctive and learned knowledge exhibited through reactions, impulses, and expressions. In his triangular theory of love, Sternberg expanded his research going beyond the scientific chemical explanation of love. The 3 points of Sternberg's theory are 1. Passion, which can be associated with physical arousal or emotional stimulation towards someone or something, like a strong feeling of enthusiasm or excitement, a strong feeling of aggression or even anger, or an intense lustful or romantic desire. The second point is intimacy, which is the sense of attraction, closeness, and attachment towards something. Intimacy creates a bond that goes beyond passion and releases tension to create feelings of comfort, ease, and familiarity. The third point is commitment, the conscious decision to maintain an agreement, a promise, or support of loyalty or devotion. This triangular theory of love is a good way to tie the scientific chemical reactions to love and the divine plan to provide an overall explanation of what love could be. So my interpretation is that love could be perceived as a chemical reaction in the brain that initiates impassioned impulses which lead to intimacy and commitment driven by a creative force of nature designed to perpetuate the longevity of the human race. Okay, so what does that all have to do with art? Well, if we replace the word love with the word art and we revisit the entire discussion, we can apply the same points as to where the desire, passion, intimacy, and commitment for art come from. Going back to the beginning, it may be safe to conclude that art, or more specifically creativity, begins with a chemical reaction in the brain. Maybe the same chemicals in different combinations and delivered to different areas of the brain than love, testosterone, estrogen, and dopamine, adrenaline, and so on. That the divine plan, the fortitude and tenacity of that creative force of nature that drives passion, intimacy, and commitment, except instead of procreation, it's focused more on the expression of ideas and communication, but with similar intent. With art, we are passionate about our work. We're ready to defend it, argue it, indulge it, and protect it from any indignation, no matter where it may come from. With art, we're also intimate in our process, our immersion, and the execution. We treat our art like a child in one moment, a lover in the next, and a cherished friend in the end. And with art, we're committed to our craft, leveraging our abilities, and always trying to reach new levels of understanding and excellence. So when we compare the similarities between love and art, there's definitely a unique relationship. Abstract concepts that seem unclear until we look at them more deeply. And if there is truth in the comparison between love and art, then there also must be truth in a similar comparison between hate and destruction, the latter being the contrast to creativity. With hate, it's probably safe to assume that the same chemical process happens in the brain, causing reactive impulses of passion, aggression, and intimacy in the form of revulsion, and in most cases, a specific proclivity toward negative perceptions. And with destruction, the process of negative reactions and impulses where, instead of building and creating from a productive, positive foundation, it's a breaking down and deconstruction in an unproductive, caustic place. Overall, we are the average people in the world, and we develop relationships with family and friends and experience love that brings us a positive, productive measure of passion, intimacy, and commitment with those we hold dear. And the same is true for us, the average artists in the world. Whether we're musicians, dancers, rappers, poets, or painters, we experience creativity that brings us a positive, productive measure of passion, intimacy, and commitment with the work we hold dear. Of course, in contrast, the same results can be assumed for those who experience a negative, unproductive measure of passion, intimacy, and commitment, for which the results are typically disruptive or unwelcomed. And if you are the type of person who is not completely sold on the idea that love or art is solely the result of a blend of chemicals that cause reactions in the brain, and that there could be a more super or extra-natural intervention involved, then it may also be wise to believe in divine accidents as well. Legendary film director Orson Welles believed that many great moments in his films were due to divine accidents, which may be otherwise known as unexpected and unintentional mistakes or mishaps that lead us toward wondrous discoveries and alternate results to what we had anticipated. For centuries, many famed artists claimed that there was some divine accident or influence to many of their greatest works. But with divine accidents, it can be as simple as walking into the wrong store and meeting the love of your life. Or for an artist, it can mean spilling the paint on a canvas and having unexpected results that change the way we paint. I think of Jackson Pollock, whose own accidental spillings changed the course of abstract art. For me, I had my own divine accident at work many years ago. I was the senior designer on a major project, and my team and I put together a dozen concepts to present to a very difficult client who unfortunately rejected all of them. I had run out of ideas, and I was exhausted. My boss was concerned because we were now on a tight deadline. It was late in the afternoon, and I was stuck, feeling panic as I had no idea what to do. So I took a break and went to the restroom to wash my face and freshen up. As I splashed water on my face, I also splashed it all over my shirt. I stood there looking in the mirror, feeling like an idiot. I just wanted to give up and go home. But as I stood there looking in the mirror, I noticed the light was hitting the water in my eyes in a strange way, causing a sort of kaleidoscope effect to my vision. Suddenly, it was like a truck running over a stop sign. I saw a whole new concept that I hadn't even considered before. I raced back to my computer, put together a whole new round of concepts based on that kaleidoscope effect, and got it ready to show and present to my boss. She looked at it, confused because it was so different from anything else we'd pitched. "Where did you come up with this?" she asked, and I replied, "In the bathroom," and we both laughed nervously as she sent it off to the client. To our shock, the client responded immediately, approving the new concept with some very minor changes. They congratulated us on a great job, and my team and I celebrated our success. I've seen those kind of divine accidents throughout my life and my career, so yes, I'm a firm believer in them. But I'm also a believer in the science behind love and art as well. And I can't deny the fact that a chemical reaction in our brain plays a major role in heightening our awareness, driving us to produce, and seek us to positive reinforcement from others to keep us coming back to our artwork over and over. Well, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this unusual topic and your experiences as well. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so, and I'd love to bring you more content like this in the future. As always, I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you again, take care, and God bless.